Anyone that works on cars, real mechanics or just real gearheads, they will just laugh at this kind of thing. But I'm telling you, I do not have any judgment whatsoever, because when you haven't worked on stuff, mechanical or otherwise, you know, it's just not what you're used to. I have a video where I changed the air filter on this 2018 Subaru Forester, and I've had so many wonderful comments from folks that have been intimidated by opening the hood of their vehicle and working on it themselves, even just to change an air filter. Stuff that to gearheads, mechanics, they could do it in their sleep. But you know, when you haven't worked on these things, or you haven't done this stuff or grown up around it, how do you know? And frankly, that's the only way to learn, is just to pop open the hood and actually take a look around. Now granted, these are expensive vehicles, so we don't want to just start tinkering stuff around. So you do have to be careful, and it can be unsafe depending on what you're doing. So I understand the intimidation factor entirely. Here's a case in point. Simple act of trying to take that plastic battery cover off. You know, you think, oh, you know, I'll just pop it off. Well, it's not coming off. You don't want to jump in and break it. It's really on there. Usually these are just easily clipped on. Might help if I got a little more light in here. Oh, for goodness sakes, all right. The small little details that can just sort of derail you. These can derail you from just doing the simple act of changing a battery, or just even doing a jump to help somebody. You need to get access to that terminal. You can see there's like a little tab here. There's one on each side, here, and they're just little tabs. I'm going to pull out on the tabs and lift that cover off. So here's a tab on both sides, and I'm just trying to lift, pull out, pry out on those tabs with my fingers. Now, there you go. So you can see this tab. You know, it's not real complicated. Sometimes those little things like that, a little plastic cover over a battery terminal, that can make all the difference in going, I think I'll just take it in. And I don't blame you. These cars are getting more and more complex, and we spend a heck of a lot of money on them. Last thing we want to do is go and do something silly and break it. No judgment from me whatsoever. Here's the positive terminal of the battery. We need to get access so we can put that little battery tester on. This is the stock battery from the factory. Red has got the positive. You got the positive there, so we're going to put this on there, and I kind of wiggle it around, make sure it's making good contact, because often there may be a coating, could be some corrosion, but if you wiggle it around, that helps to kind of cut through that a little bit to make sure the metal against metal gets contact there. We'll do the same thing over here. I'm just going to find a spot on this. Looks like our top down's coming to life. It's saying 12.72 volts, 12.73 volts so far. I'm going to hit OK. Let's do a battery test. I'm guessing just a regular flooded battery, but I'm not entirely sure. The markings are kind of sparse. Right here it says CCA 470 amps, so that's 470 amps cold cranking amps. So we'll need to know that. Otherwise, there's not a lot of indication as to what it is, so I'm just going to assume it's probably just a regular flooded battery. So we'll say OK on that. It says CCA, so let's enter the cold cranking amps, and it's set to 740, which I used on my last vehicle, so let's knock it down to 470. All right, there's 470, and let's say OK. It says testing. And it says good battery. Health is 74%. Charge is 100%. The internal resistance, 7.4 milliohms. What other options we have here? There's a cranking test. There's a charging test. I really like that top-down battery tester. That really helped out there. Now I do have the garage door closed here, so I'm gonna turn this off. The battery was showing as being still good when I did the battery test, but when I did the crank test, it said it was low, and I suspected that was the case just from hearing. It didn't have the, I guess you might say, the most energetic turnover. It just sounded like it was just a little on the weak side every time. Probably for a good year and a half I've let it go too long. We'll be sure to put this back on. And there. This thing wasn't very expensive. I'll put a link to it in the description. Certainly checking your own battery, and if you can take a look at it yourself and you think you can do it, I think it's worth it. You can save a lot of money. So now that we've determined that that battery is definitely due for a change, stop back again and we'll go through replacing that battery together.